Bryson in background. Found a nice little spot here. It's called Sky on 9 Bar, and it's down by Tahoe Lake. Nice little spot. I was gonna film every day, and I will film every day, but whilst I feel up for doing another video, why not do another video and front load somewhat, because maybe some days I have other things that I'm doing, maybe I'm traveling, maybe whatever, unforeseen circumstances. So I'm up for it. As I said in my last video, I'm not really trying. I hope you can hear me, by the way. But if not, then you hear a bit of Bryson. So I'm just gonna record when I feel like it. That's the whole point. Sometimes we think so much about, okay, I need to post X amount of times a day on 5 distribution channels at this time, that time, and this other time. Or I need to schedule all my content for a month. I need to write down. Turn that blender off, man. Right. You might think, for example, before the vision to just do off the cuff mind dumps, the idea was, okay, let's do the ethos of not trying, but I was trying to do the ethos of not trying. Does that make sense? Better to lead by example than give advice. And I think that's the reason people don't like being preached to. CR7 says this, he says he leads by example rather than give advice. And that's how we learn anyway. When he even says as well himself, when he was younger, he would look at what the elders were doing, people like, I don't know, Carrick or Rio or whatever, and copy, because it's easier to use our mirror neurons and copy than it is to listen to advice from someone, because people chat a lot of shit. So often it goes in one ear, comes out the other. So I'm filming when I feel like it. I feel like doing one now. And this one, as I say, there's no through line, and there's no cues. But if I have one idea that is the overarching theme, somewhat, I will go off on tangents, but that's fine, because at the end of the day, it's just my mind offloaded. So, and that's fine, because there's value in what I say, but there's a core angle that each video is going to center on, and this one is precarity, basically instability. I get essentially instability. So times are changing fast, and more people are in precarious positions. Even in a first world country like the UK, a lot of people worry about where the next meal is going to come from, where the next, I don't know, train fares, for example. It can charge you 80 quid to travel 3 hours across the country, whatever it may be. People worry about survival, because the precarious culture is all, the whole nature of it is survival, okay? But it's the 21st century. We shouldn't realistically be worrying for a start and about survival. Look at the civilizations we've built. Look at the infrastructure we've built. We've put people on the moon. Yeah, we've got the Large Hadron, what's it called? The Large Hadron, whatever or another. Large Hadron Collector, whatever. That thing, CERN in Switzerland, whatever it is, smash electrons together. We can do this crazy ass shit, yeah? And yet the majority of the world still worries about survival. And even people who make it, people who are earning, couples who are earning 100 grand salaries each, and yet they live paycheck to paycheck. generally people don't have money management because they don't know how to play the game of money. People who have the most money are playing different games. They're playing completely different games, and they have the loopholes, and they have the contacts, and they have the separation from those who are not in that position. They don't. I'm not gonna go to Tai Hen Street or whatever and see Bezos walking down the street. It's just not gonna happen. They don't see outside of their bubble. So they're playing different games. They have different perspective by choice. Again, look at Bezos. What? 250 guests at his wedding. 90 of them flew on private jets there. No doubt, 80% all coming from the same place or same regional places in America, right? So there's no collaboration, and people don't give a shit about the majority of people who live in precarious situations. I haven't tried my ginger beer, mate, or ginger ale. It's good. The best ginger beer comes from this little farm shop in Brighouse. Proper spicy, burns your throat. Proper good shit. And I'm missing that, to be fair. That's probably the thing I miss most about the UK, man. Nah. Yeah, people shouldn't be in precarious situations, but it's the sad nature of the world. Even working your ass off in a job. Most people work their ass off in a job they hate, dread Sundays, dread Monday. They literally have a psychological cope that they apply to each day of the week. And that's how they do life, in cycles of weeks, living for the weekend, having psychological cope, like, oh, it's Monday, let's just get through it, and then it's after the first day's done. Maybe it's Tuesday, like, oh, we get sandwiches on Tuesday, that makes the day 2% better. And Wednesday, oh, it's whatever, hump day, I get to, I don't know, there's some Champions League game on at fucking 8 PM. Thursday, they're like, oh, I don't know, it's closer to the weekend than it is the start of the week. Like, people live in this cycle and literally don't change for 50 years. That's a sad nature of it. Now, I don't want to be all pessimistic, and I don't want to say what's already been said. I want to threads together. So, as I said in my last video, the world's geared up to be this way, and it was. Charlie Chaplin said 100 years ago, why are we living like this? And yet here we are 100 years later. People like Martin Luther King try and advocate for certain things. Here we are, we're in culture wars, more divisive, more segregated than ever. Communities don't integrate, people don't comprehend other people's religions or whatever, or cultures beyond surface face value, misinformation they see on the internet. People don't appreciate other people's things. The humanity has gone. We've gone from World War One, World War Two, and then people won't realise, but we're in a spiritual war. And they even said this in the media. If you've ever seen Fight Club, I believe it is, then they talk about how we're in our war of our time as the middle children of humanity is a spiritual war. And if you're thinking, how are you going to feed your kids tomorrow, then no doubt it's going to cause worry, it's going to cause stress, it's going to cause anxiety, it's going to cause depression. Yeah, I'm not surprised. And it's all by design. People don't really fall far from trees, which is another problem, because as I said, just a minute ago, that's, you don't appreciate other people's values or culture or see the humanity in them. People become symbols. They're a symbol within your reality. They're not, you don't appreciate them having their own inner life, inner world, different education system. Like, curiosity is the highest power thing that doesn't take effort. Let me say that again. Curiosity is the highest value, highest power thing that there is that doesn't take effort. That's all that humanity needs, is curiosity. I'm conscious of the lighting, and I'm also conscious that I've only got 20 minutes storage on here, when ideally I'd like these to be, well, it doesn't really matter, but I'm enjoying offloading, so I want them to, my last one was an hour. I was thinking let's do it, this one an hour, but really I'll just feel how long I want to record for. But I don't want limits. Let's talk about limits. And let's talk about limits in relation to curiosity. As I say, curiosity is innate. It's what solves the in-group, out-group bias that we all have, especially in a globalized world. Our survival mechanisms kick in. We have to make quick assumptions, prejudice. It's a survival mechanism. Knowledge is how you shape your perspective and go from seeing the world as hostile to friendly. It's what opens you up to solving needs, other people's needs, and providing value, whether that's anything, service, humour, kindness. You don't know what someone needs unless you have the curiosity to find shit out. Wisdom in society is massively undervalued. But the people in them precarious situations are trapped because the soul is I don't sound like some proper hippie, but the soul is diminished, and so we cope. I noticed a lot of things are cope in society, or this is what I believe. A lot of almost everything is cope, or has been cope up to date. But when you're just living for the weekend and your soul's crushed, you turn to copes like low-level shite, basically, like shit that's not sustainable. Whether that's, I don't know, like a vape, for example, or I don't know, porn, for example, or these really high-paced, stimulating YouTube videos like Mr. Beast, for example, or Skibbity Toilet, or all this shite is just fills a void, plugs a hole in a precarious situation. It's like a stimulant, right? It's why drug addicts turn to drugs. It's filling a void, which I feel is always connection or lack of community, and an inability to find peace on your own in solitude, to cope with your own thoughts. And now, I'm not blaming people. A lot of times people are born into situations that mean that maybe they've had trauma, maybe they felt isolated because the breakdown in community, religion was gone, third space gone, parents divorced, whatever the situation might be, which that's applicable for a lot of my generation, for example. Whatever it may be, I can't fault people for their way of becoming. People turn to drugs. People try drugs. Trying drugs is curiosity in itself, embodied in action. But the people who get hooked are the people who are using it as a substitute for meaning. And meaning comes through connection. directly or indirectly, and I say indirectly, look at Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. You can get meaning from an interaction with someone, from your attitude in any given circumstance, which again comes from the knowledge I said, the wisdom, or from creating something of value. But at the end of the day, all of them things are pro-social things. We're social creatures. We're not some octopus that just floats about and I don't know. I feel like the octopus, it comes to us. You know that guy? He goes, my octopus teacher. He goes down. The octopus is dying for some stimulation, right? The octopus like, fuck, should go back in evolution, go back where we branched off and like be like the dolphins or some shit. That's what it's thinking. The most successful animals on Earth are the social ones, so mammals. And as an upgrade from that, if you expand on that, the ones that are most successful as humans are the ones who can collaborate, which is us, because we collaborate. That's how we've been able to govern the world, really. And if you go one stage further than that and look at demographics, if you look at Europeans as a whole, because of the geopolitical environment that shapes us all, they were able to trust one another, and then hence build what we call the industrialized, civilized world, which has benefits and negatives, by the way, but it's through trust at the highest level, human collaboration at the wider level, being a social species at the caregiving level, and then just being a biological animal at the growth level. Well, not even growth level. Every having a perception of other things, other animals at the animal level. Okay, so it filters down. But notice animals are not in a precarious situation. No, that's not true. That's not true. You're like a small little fish. Big fish eat small fish. Medium fish eat smaller fish. Let's not talk about animals right now. Maybe I do need more of a through line. I don't need a through line. I think what it is because this is my second video of the day. My mind isn't as sharp. I'm reverting to conditioning, which is thinking. But over time, my mind will just relax more so and just be able to just free flow. The precarious nature of the world comes from injustice. I need to put some storage on this phone. Injustice of the world. Now, injustice, is that innate, or is it something that can be moderated? We perceive the world with our five senses, although it's been suggested that what we actually perceive is a fraction of what the world is. Now, naturally, we see, let's take something simple. They say seeing is believing, okay? Let's take men, for example. physical, okay, let's take physical beauty. Naturally, there's a natural inequality between, say, right, I ran out of storage, but we're back. What I'm getting at, take an evolutionary stance before we were even as self-aware now. A more physically attractive human would be deemed healthier and so would have more mating opportunities. So that's a natural injustice. But a lot of it is because we base everything on the external, which is what we can see largely. And the more human elements, because what we see can be symbolism, which is the shallowest thing there is. But substance comes from intimacy. For example, one of the senses, feeling, is a deeper, has more substance to it. Thank you. Look at that. Wow, it's alright, that, doesn't it? Hearing, for example, listening, another one of our senses. We all love the sound of our own voice, and yet no one wants to listen. And yet, the substance comes from listening. It's a term called inverse charisma. People think they want to be the center of attention, they want to be the most gregarious, they want to be the loud, outspoken one, but the person that's remembered is the one who is curious about the other person, the one who shows interest in the other person and makes the other person feel like the charismatic, likable, gregarious one. Yeah, so, and I even know, like, think about your dating experiences. When were you most interested in one of your dates? Is when they were very curious, when they were enthusiastic, not when they were telling you some bullshit story that had no deeper value, no deeper meaning, no significance. Like, that shit's forgettable. And so, yeah, as I say, inequality causes injustice, but we focus on the physical, and we always have. We look at resources in the ground, steal the resources from the ground, extract it, whatever, mold it, convert it, shape it, put it in some display, in some box somewhere to display power. That's the epitome of shallow maintenance of injustice. Whereas if we went to a more internal, a deeper understanding of humans, then there would be less injustice in the world. But that also means that you need more opportunities, because you don't know what you don't know, and knowledge is power. Oh shit, no, that changed hue. Is that the word? Hue? Changed his hue? Why, look at that. I like that one, you know. So they're focusing on the external, whether that's luxury brands, whether that's money, whether that's anything that's a representation of the class system or status, maintains injustice. People slander it, but then play into it. So the precarious nature will continue until people realise that they've been conditioned to think they have a lot to lose. You have nothing to lose. Anything you feel you have to lose is construct to keep you doing what they want you to do, obedient and a worker, not a thinker, definitely not a feeler. They don't want you to feel. When you feel, you realise the best things in life are free. I like the song. Hope you can hear it. Remix. So we have this precarious world in which most people don't know where the next meal is going to come from. When you appreciate the smallest things in life, again, I think I mentioned in this video Viktor Frankl. He was a Holocaust survivor, and he created the book Man's Search for Meaning. And any quote I've ever read from him has always made me feel empowered. So, person I respect. But this man was a Holocaust survivor, and he said there was a time where they're all in the I don't know what you call it, the courtyard, barbed wires, fences, whatever. They're in these, I don't know what you call them, you know what I mean, the courtyard of the places, and they all go outside and they all look up and they're looking and observing a sunrise. And isn't that beautiful? They're in this prison, this camp, that's what they call camps. They're in this prison camp, and they're all looking up at this beautiful sunrise or sunset. And in that moment, they're all together. They're all in that same position. They've all got belonging. They've got community. You know, and they're looking at a wonder of nature. And the fact you can appreciate something like that, it goes back to what I was saying, the positive mental attitude. But the system doesn't want you to have a positive mental attitude. They want you insecure. They want you isolated. They want you fragmented. They want you confused. They want you ignorant. They want you divisive. All these things stop you being powerful in any way, shape or form. But if you can just be content, not even content, if you see the beauty in the little things, even just simple things. Some Amish person has just as much potential, if not more potential, to have a fulfilling life as an Arab sheikh. You know, there's something in my mind where I don't know if I've seen it in movies or just hear about it, but these wealthy people, and they'll get given a steak and they're kicking off at the chef because they wanted it medium rare to 3 degrees of a hue of pink. Like, your expectations go up when you get into that position because you had to be so, what's the word, precise in and measured in what you did to get to that position, which isn't necessarily a good thing, because you tried and you put a lot of effort in. But as I say, everything's around you, the people, the community, the environment, nature, not looking at logs and data and processes. Like, don't get me wrong, that stuff's good in tangent with other people. But there's a reason the people at the top tend to be sociopaths, psychopaths, narcissists, solipsists, because they have that ability to not require or need the emotion or connection or stimulation from other people. Maybe not stimulation, maybe they want the stimulation of people in another way, in a manipulative way, but not in the vulnerable and connecting way. Let's change the tone. We've got a bit of Fanta Light. So Don't use these shitty little paper straws. But I'm impressed because majority of Asia uses plastic in everything, ridiculous amounts. They contribute 57% of the world's plastic, and Europe's 12. So I'm impressed to see a paper straw, but by the same token, look at that little floppy ass shit. Where was I? Where was I now? Anything that you expect is not going to bring you happiness, which goes back to my core tenet, if there is one, which is don't try, but be authentic. And the reason I say that, happiness is reality minus expectations. So do it for you, and there's no need to expect. When I meditate, I've been meditating recently more so than ever because I've had the time and the space to do so. I'm still in a precarious situation somewhat, but not relative to other people, because for a large part of my life I did try and I was fortunate in opportunities, but I realised that that's not how I want to continue my life for the next 30, 40 years. There's a reason people who are middle-aged, mid-30s, 40s, 50s are the most unhappy in their life. It's because they have to try the most. But when I say try, there's no harm in trying, but put effort into what you're naturally, intrinsically motivated to do. Don't put effort into something that's not for you. Don't try and be something you're not. But as I say, knowledge wants the opportunity, especially given now we're in the age of internet, AI, social media, any of this stuff, you have information. As I say, curiosity is free. Curiosity is the highest value asset that we have that doesn't take any effort. So I have no money coming in, but I trust my perspective, I trust my wisdom, I trust my abilities, that I've got nothing to worry about. Some people would look at my decisions. For example, I have money in a lifetime ISA. If I was to take that out, I would lose 25%. Some people would look at that as foolish, unwise, not logical. But as I said before, the people who fortune comes from luck. Risk. Fortune comes from risk. When I say fortune, I don't mean monetary or financial. I mean opportunity, connection. It all comes from risk. And so many people play things safe. And it's that very nature of playing things safe that keeps you in that precarious situation. Now I get it, you can take a risk, you can throw the dice and end up in a worse situation. But also, what is even within your control? Yes, you can work hard and get a 2 to 5% pay rise. What if the economy, the cost of living, goes up? Take Porto, for example. It's you could call it the B team of France, right? The B, can't say that. I know it's its own culture. I'm not disrespecting the culture, but think of it as I can't even, you know what I mean? It's an enclave of Spain, so it's like a second string Spain. I know it's not, but think of it from an economical and GDP perspective and development perspective, right? So you got this B team it's Portugal, and then Porto, which is, call that the B team of Lisbon. Okay, it's the second capital city. Sorry, it's the second biggest city. I hope you get what I'm getting at. I'm not causing offence here. I understand Portugal has its own values, and I have appreciated Portuguese people and the Portuguese culture, but just for example, it's a second string city of a second string country, let's just say. In the last 15 years, the rent has gone up 150%. No one's wage from Porto as a local would have gone up that much. Not even to any extent whatsoever. And there's an influx of Americans. They're welcoming people in. They want to raise the population, but they're doing that by bringing in Americans, which are, a lot of them are more wealthy, or people from Belgium or the UK or the Nordic countries, all welcomed into Portugal because that's how they want to raise the population, rather than having the next generation of Portuguese children and kids take them working positions. Everyone tries to speed run things, whether that's European governments, whether that's us as a generation. Everyone's trying to do things as quick as possible, not realizing it takes consistency and it takes moderation. Whether that's building a multicultural society, or building a presence, or influence, or even a business, or even career success. Anything takes success, and we all think it's just, we should be overnight millionaires, for example. And so going back to my example of the appreciating cost of assets, because our grandparents' generation, our parents' generation, all saw them as assets. Sorry, I say assets. Go back a minute ago. Housing, shelter, has become an asset by the generations before us, and so you're naturally in a precarious situation anyway by the things out of your control. So you may as well buckle up, sort out the curiosity, refine the curiosity that was conditioned out of you from the Prussian education system that wanted you working on a conveyor belt in a factory. Reignite that curiosity, get the knowledge to shape your perspective. You realise you can't fail. With these millionaires, forget the money, put the money aside. Their perspective is such that they could be on the street tomorrow and still make something of themselves, make money, make a business, find a job, whatever, do something that's deemed successful in life. And that's because of their perspective. For me, what's the worst case scenario? I end up homeless. What's homeless here? Like on a beach in Thailand, some beach like you see out the movies in PP. That Leo DiCaprio one, he finds that beach, and there's this collective of people, and they're all so joyful and but like, what's the worst? Look at the beach in that. What's the worst that can happen? Don't underestimate that once you have a good demeanor, you can speak to people, you have something to give and offer people. Other people, when you realize they're not just some NPC, they are a gateway to opportunities, to knowledge, to all sorts. Everyone has a life as vivid and complex as yours. I remember growing up, there's a thing called 6 degrees of separation, and it's essentially saying how we're all connected by 6 mutual friends, let's call it in a term people would understand. 6 mutual friends along the line connects us all. And I heard that growing up, so 15 years ago. I reckon now it's hard to quantify, but we're very interconnected, right? On a physical level, and even more so on a nootropic level, which is our collective consciousness. So never underestimate the value of knowledge to give to other people, connections and kindness. And with that, you may as well roll the dice. There's nothing bad can happen. But the unfortunate thing is, these people in the precarious positions don't have the manuscript to know what to do. And so maybe they turn to the internet, which is full of people who are, through these mirror neurons, top down, just to trickle, just exploiting people for their own personal gain. Most people don't care that much about someone else because they're focused on their own survival or growth or the vision they have for themselves. And so what they really need to know, the people in precarious situations, acquire knowledge, be open to different perspectives. Let me put myself in the shoes of, if I had no money and I'm in a not even a third world, let's say I'm in a third world country and I've got no knowledge, then people, I feel, are just, well, I can't generalize, but a lot of them are happy because they have more community than some of the cultures that are broken down. Okay, let's take depends what degree of third world we're talking. Let's say you're in Malawi, you've got, every day you have to walk 5 miles to get whatever, a pail of water. That's a precarious situation, okay? You're 15, you've just got a smartphone you got from whatever. You got handed by a mate. So you've got essentially informative information online, your news, for example, updates around the world. That serve no purpose in the modern world because it's things you can't control. All it does is bring down the morale, collective consciousness, causes you to feel powerless. I feel that's the main principle of informative things we see in the media. Then you've got entertainment. There's value in entertainment, but it takes away from connection with one another because it's a very good substitute for bringing people together. So as humans, we got here through our ability to collaborate, which came from our ability to tell stories to one another. Now, Netflix, for example, takes that away. Mr. Beast takes that away. Watching football takes that away. I'm not saying these things are bad. I'm just saying make it a totem around conversation with other people. Which football, for example, is great because it's one of the most bonding things of people between different creeds. Same with shows, things like Love Island. People talk about it, great. Brings people together, brings people into discussion on human nature, which I think is valuable. A top series, Money Heist or Prison Break, whatever it may be, Lupin. These things, when they're a trend, great, but don't just binge watch a series for the sake of binge watching. You don't memorize, you don't remember it, But when it becomes a centerpiece of conversation, it's great. But if you're in a precarious situation, why are you spending all your time watching Netflix or scrolling TikTok? It's because it gives you that fast, quick hit of dopamine. But if you address it and get healthier sources of dopamine, that's how you're going to get yourself out of that precarious situation. And so, turn to opportunities. Now, there's limited opportunities because the system we're in at our point in time, our generation, is thorough, it's saturated for opportunities, and it's hyper competitive. So you'll realize there's beauty in contrast. Don't do what everyone else is doing. They say people who try and fit in become invisible, which makes sense. But evolutionarily, we try to fit in because that's how we survive. But we don't need to survive. Survival is there's no death. There's no death, and people, whatever, will take that in any way they want. But stick with my videos, and you'll understand. Your brain is wired for survival. Your self-talk will literally do anything and everything and say the right thing to you to stop you achieving your higher values. The reason you don't get out of that precarious situation is because you listen to your brain. Because, unfortunately, because of the class system, you feel you have to survive. You feel powerless. But you don't have a deep enough why to listen to those higher values. A deep enough why will allow you to switch from the quick instant dopamine, for example, from stress that causes you to turn to them things, from accepting a negative situation as part of what reality is. The why will always be a feeling, and it'll always be another person, which is why the breakdown in the nuclear family is bad, breakdown in community is really bad, breakdown in belonging is really bad. Because the why will always be for a person, but do it for yourself. But when you do something for yourself, it needs to be for yourself. And trying is never for yourself, because if you're putting effort into something and it's causing you sacrifice, which by the way we've been conditioned to accept, then it's not for yourself, is it? Always do what you know yourself, they say, right? Which is, there's a scene in The Matrix, I think Neo goes and sees, what's the name? Is it the Oracle? And above the door it says Temet Nose, which is know thyself, which I believe is derived from the Greeks, possibly, or Latin, I think it's from Latin, and it means know thyself. And the reason you want to know thyself is because then you know how to feel for yourself. What are you intrinsically motivated by? Reconnect with your curiosity. Forget stigma, forget other people's opinions. The 5 regrets of the dying: wish I'd lived a life true to myself. This is exactly what I'm saying. Wish I'd stayed in contact with my friends. We distance ourselves from people because maybe the media tells us they're not good for us. Find your tribe, whatever. Maybe you're thinking, okay, let me just work hard because I've been conditioned to work hard. Maybe you go to uni, but I'm not slating uni, but we chase pursuit and purpose that displaces community and belonging, which is where our sense of peace and meaning comes from. And we sacrifice them things to chase something. Bear in mind, when you chase something, it runs away from you. Most people chase money. You don't chase money, you chase value. But your value, to get value, you need that community in the first place. Otherwise, you're gonna lose the passion in achieving the dream. I saw a TED talk the other day, and it was lack of community or belonging is the biggest dream killer. And you've sacrificed that community to chase value, but you can't sustain the value because you haven't got the community anymore. That's what I was saying 5 minutes ago. It's a thorough system. I don't know if it's by design. It probably is by design. But as I said before, with Frankel, positive mental attitude, you can always have control over your attitude, no matter what the situation is. And everything's relative. So when you find shit out, like, yeah, it might at first be shocking. You're like, oh wow, yeah, whatever these people, that people, whatever. But everything's relative. So we live in probably the best times there's ever been. And even though there's these powerful forces, whether it's social media or AI or I don't know, global warming, all these powerful things that are quite incomprehensible. It's not that they're the problem, it's that we're the problems, the human conditioning, everything's out of order. It's like I say, there's nothing wrong with creating value. Chasing money for chasing money's sake, which a lot of people do, is never going to give you the peace and meaning you would have got from the community. Chasing value without the community is never going to give you the ability to sustain the peace and meaning. Sorry, to sustain the purpose that gives you the peace and meaning, or more peace and meaning, unless you're a sociopath or psychopath. And so that's why we see people's souls get crushed. And I feel there's a rise of psychopaths and narcissists, or people who like, it's a spectrum, right? And people who are more over that side of the of the egoic self, right, rather than the belonging. So it ties back into the precarious nature. Yeah, once you know yourself, solve a problem for yourself. Or be open-minded to appreciate other people. Go out there. Don't sit all day evening for 5 hours and watch Netflix. Go and meet other people and go be out and about. And that way, for being open-minded, even the internet's great, but what are you viewing on the internet? Don't just watch TikTok bullshit that doesn't stick. Be intentional and realize what are you attracting rather than chasing, and that's how you get out of a precarious situation. I say this myself now, and I have no money coming in, but it's all about self-belief. That's what separates. If we take the class structure as the most, it's a depiction of external resources, but it's also the best measure we have of a hierarchy of internal peace. And so lost my trail of thought. Shit. Gone. Thoughts gone. Class. Why was I talking about class? The display. I think I was saying about that peace is what peace and knowledge, they say readers are leaders, right? Peace and knowledge is what gives you the social connections and the resources. When I talk about resource, I talk about money, essentially, or influence. That comes from peace within. But if you're programmed to chase and fill a void, then you'll always do that. You have to trust yourself. Belief, that's what I was talking about, belief. They have more belief because, as Barack Obama said, it's not that the people at the top are any smarter or any better than the people who are middle class or working class. They just have more confidence because they've been in them social circles, they've been in them environments, they've never been shut down. Okay, they've never been closed off by something that they wanted. Or again, if we talk about a spectrum, not to the extent that someone who has less opportunities has. And so they're more confident. And if we talk about confidence, what we're really talking about is self-belief. And it's that self-belief that is the very resolution to getting out of a precarious nature. I'm gonna leave you with the view. And we're gonna end the video